What's up guys, ArchAngel Manga here, and today's series review is going to be A Bride Story by Kaoru Mori. Now what's going to be different about this series review is the fact that the series that I'm reviewing is still currently ongoing. It was published in Fellows magazine in October 2009 and it's still ongoing. I'm reviewing the volumes that have currently been released in English. That's 5 volumes, 6 if you want to include the Kaoru Mori Anything and Something Extras data book. So yeah, A Bride Story, Kaoru Mori. Funnily enough, this series is actually a seinen. Considering what the subject matter is and what it depicts in its storytelling, I assumed that it was always a josei until I researched that and looked it up. But yeah, what is A Bride Story? What is it about? Obviously, it's drawn and written by Kaoru Mori, a female mangaka, and it's set in the late 19th century in Turkic Central Asia. In rural towns near the Caspian Sea and the Caspian border, that surrounding area, like Uzbekistan, Turkey, going into Greece, that sort of Middle Eastern Asia Minor area. And the story begins with a young girl called Amir. She's 20 years old and she's been sent from one village to another to marry into a different family. But when she gets to the village that she's marrying into, she finds out that her groom is 8 years her junior. So while she's 20 years old, the groom she's going to be marrying is 12 years old. So from that it just obviously they get married, and the series isn't very fast paced. It's not heavily story driven. It's basically just like a historical slice of life, and basically the story just takes Amir and her groom Karluk through daily living and community living, and just how what it is to accustom yourself to being married to a groom that's so young. There's no deep sort of character development. There's no deep sort of there's no monologues or inner sort of dialogue that Amir has that really questions what she's doing in that position, because it's just her culture. There's just no real problem. At first it was just a little surprise, and that's really all it is. Not to say that I'm criticising it for that, but it isn't heavy on story driving. It really is just about daily living in nomadic tribal towns, or settlements. But yeah, that's the first 2 volumes that covers the beginning of the marriage of Amir and Karluk. One thing that's funny about this series is that as volumes go on, it's only 5 volumes that are out so far. I assumed that the entire story was going to be about Amir and Karluk, but the main characters constantly shift. We're introduced to a new character in volume 3, and then in volumes 4 and 5 we're introduced to new characters in a different location, but there's only one sort of overarching sort of main character who kind of stays in the background and comes to the foreground every now and then, and that's a man called Mr. Smith, who's it's not really fully delved into what his occupation is, but it's easy to kind of just take a gander or a guess that he's an anthropologist, because he's basically he's from England, and he's basically in this region just studying the culture, getting to know the people, travelling around. There's no overarching story. There's no particular goal that he's getting to that we know of yet. He's just basically going from town to town, meeting different people, learning about their ways of life, how they function as a miniature society, and how it differs from his culture. He constantly befriends the chief of tribes and things like that, and there's a lot of culture clash, and it's used to comedic effects sometimes. There's I can't cite any specific instances, but for example, Mr. Smith will find himself in situations where he'll see a situation going on in the community. Say for example, 2 people are having an argument over something, or they'll be doing something that he seems kind of strange, or he deems kind of strange, or out of the ordinary, and everybody will be just but you really find that out of the ordinary. It's just normal to us, and he'll constantly be surprised and taken aback at how vastly different these cultures are to his culture. So that differentiation in culture is something that is subtly played upon throughout this series, which I find very interesting. The main aspect of this story, the main aspect of this whole manga that is the most beautiful thing about it, and my favourite part of it, is the artwork and the attention to detail that Kawamori has put into the story and into learning about the culture and just the locations. I haven't read a great amount of manga, but from what I'm aware of, there's no manga that's being printed in English that is dealing with this kind of subject matter or set in these locations. So you really get a feel and a sense for belonging in in the area that is set. I could definitely feel that it just felt very authentic, and the locations felt like they'd had a breath of life imbued into the art. I'm not really making much sense, I know, but yeah, Kawamori does a really good job of bringing the backgrounds and the locations that she's depicting to life, and that's very, very interesting. You tell she's really done research, and she painstakingly renders her art in a way that it just really looks so realistic. I mean, this whole chapter is just dedicated to woodcrafting or cooking bread, in a bakery, or bathing, like communal baths and things like that. And that's really, really interesting. What I love about her artwork is her attention to detail in like embroidery and clothing, because there's a lot of scenes where women will be like embroidering clothes and rugs and mats and things like that for like marriage celebrations or just festivals or whatever, whatever the celebration is. And there'll be these just intricate like patterns, and as you can see a little bit here on the covers of volume 4 and 5, the clothes that they wear are really, really intricately penned out, and that's just how their culture is. She's researched that, she knows that, and she knows that the clothes are very flamboyant and very very patterned, and that comes across brilliantly in her artwork. But yeah, probably my only criticism is the fact that because the main characters kind of shift constantly, there's little to no room for character development, and if there is any character development, it's like just in like fleeting moments. When Amiya marries into a new family, when she's settled in, like her family come back wanting to take her back, and obviously her new family defends them off, that kind of thing, and it's nice to see different emotions expressed from from the characters that you kind of get to know, but it's very short-lived, because it just flicks to a new part of the story from that. One thing I recommend you pick up as well is Kawamori's Anything and Something, because that it's like a data book for everything that she's made up to this point. I mean, there's artwork from A Bride Story, and there's artwork from previous series that she's worked on, like Shirley and Emma, which are like maid orientated and actually set in England. So yeah, I highly recommend picking up the series anyway. It's only 5 volumes that are out so far. It's published by Yen Press in hardcovers. You get a really nice slipcover on. The artwork is gorgeous, very, very, very detailed. She's really good at facial expressions, character differentiation. You can definitely tell which characters, which, because obviously, being nomadic tribes and communities that have like very big families and extended families, so she's done a really good job of differentiating what family is what, who is who, whether it's in their facial appearance or whether it's the clothes that they dress. You can definitely tell who's who, and that's really good because she's depicting communities and families, and that's a core element of the story. So yeah, that's my review of Kawamori's A Bride Story. Highly recommend the series. It's definitely one of my top 10 favourite seinen. So yeah, drop your thoughts and comments in the section below if you've read this already. If you're wanting to read this, let me know. If you've got any more questions about the series that you'd like me to answer, then tell me your thoughts. Until then, ArchAngel Manga signing out.